This story happened about 9 years ago and sometimes comes to my mind. It's a lot creepier now looking back at it. So, I was on an adult dating site. One of the fetish types. I know. Don't judge me. I was just looking for some fun at the time. Anyway, I was stupid and gave out more information than I should have. I was chatting with a guy. He had asked me at some point what I did for work. At the time, I was working at a McDonald's, so I told him. He asked which one. I, stupidly, told him which one. We chatted off and on. I also stupidly gave him my phone number at some point. He would talk about how he wanted to meet me on my break and have some fun while I was on it. I told him no thanks. I don't bring my lifestyle to my job. One day I checked my messages just before I was due to clock out of work. Luckily, I did. He mentioned that he was at my job and told me what he ordered. If I recall, it was the Big Mac meal. I responded with, okay, well, don't expect me to do anything with you. I'm not interested. He then got upset and wasn't accepting that I wasn't interested. I was also scared because I had sent him a face picture of myself, but I had never received one from him. I really wasn't too interested in him, so I decided I didn't need a face picture since I likely wasn't going to meet up with him. His interests weren't what I was looking for, and I have a hard time straight up saying I'm not interested and just slowly started to ghost whoever I had no interest in. Now, luckily, I hadn't told him my work schedule, so he didn't know that I was about to clock out. So, after clocking out, I told one of my managers that I was on a dating site, and some guy just showed up to my work, and I have no idea what he looks like, and that I was going to hang out in the back in the break room for a bit. Luckily, she didn't judge me, and just was like, oh, okay. I waited about half an hour before I left. I didn't have a car at the time and had to walk home and was afraid he would see me and try to pick me up in his car. Luckily, no one followed me, and I was in the clear. He never messaged me after that, though I ended up blocking him soon after anyway. Now, I get that just reading this doesn't sound that creepy. But try putting yourself in my shoes, where some random person just decided that they would show up to your job and expect you to meet up, especially when you have absolutely no interest in them. Nowadays, when I'm on these sites, I just give a vague response as to where I work now. I don't work in the same town I live in, so it would be hard to pinpoint my exact location anyway. Obviously, this situation opened my eyes and made me more aware of the information I give out to strangers. Can't be young and dumb forever, I suppose. So, creepy guy. Let's never meet. I live in a relatively safe neighborhood, barring the occasional mugging attempts, one of which took place right against my bedroom window with one of my neighbors, or the few times a random guy in his car follows me to my place asking for my number. But other than those, things are generally stable. I typically have a way of dealing with those assholes, by taking advantage of a random empty lot on my street where cars can't drive, forcing them to go around the block, and by the time they manage to turn around the corner, I will have run back into my house. No biggie. A few months ago, some genius in our street paid someone in the city to move the neighborhood garbage disposer to another place, whereas before it was right down the block. Now it's a few minutes away. Now I have to walk a while before I can throw my garbage, in a usually quite busy area, which I find embarrassing. So, I started waiting until nightfall to do so. I know, stupid, with everything I told you before, but I got sloppy. Things started feeling safer in the last few months, and so I felt comfortable leaving my home after sundown. Until last Sunday, at least. Like usual, I waited until it was dark to go. After throwing the garbage, I stopped by the convenience store nearby to pick up some things. On my way back to my place, and at the entrance of my street, I noticed a young man standing in front of the parking lot located in front of one of my neighbor's house across the street from mine. He was talking on the phone and looking away from me. But as I rounded up the corner, I noticed a guy sitting quietly on his motorbike right in the front of my doorstep. Something about the way he was already looking at me just as my eyes landed on him freaked me out. I did a quick math and realized that, by the time I would be able to open the door, if ever, he would catch me if he wanted to. This time the empty lot trick wouldn't work, as I would have to walk past him first, but also his motorbike could be driven on it. I turned on my heels back to the convenience store, hoping he was just a delivery guy waiting for someone to meet. I dilly-dallied at the store for a while, but when I went back home, I found he was still there on his bike, while the guy in front of my neighbor's parking lot was also still on his phone, just staring at me before I'd even seen him. I realized then and there that something was not right, and luckily, I had noticed that the security guard of the street behind us was sitting in his booth. I approached him and explained the situation, hoping he'd walk me to my place, which he gladly did. The moment the guy on the phone saw me return with the security guard, he put his phone in his pocket and turned towards the guy on the bike, who drove to him. Keep in mind, these two were not even looking at one another, let alone look like they knew each other. The guy who was on his phone sat behind the motorbike dude and they both drove past me while staring at me. Both the security guard and I agreed that something was funny about the entire situation, and he thankfully waited until I was safely behind locked doors. I don't know if those two wanted to mug me, or if they had more sinister intentions, but I'm just glad I trusted my gut and didn't just go home. Otherwise, who knows what would have happened.